Welcome to Talking WoW, the podcast where we talk about World of Warcraft, believe it or not. My name is Tom, and today we are going to be having a little look at the World of Warcraft beta announcement trailer for the War Within. And joining me to take a peek into the future, it's Marty. Hey, Marty.
Hello there. I am looking forward to talking about this because I might.
Oh, I've got chills. This is not a very long cinematic, but oh my goodness, by the end of it, my hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I'm hitting replay to watch it through again. And honestly, just every time I watch it, I feel like I get a little bit more excited for the War Within and maybe the World Soul Saga as well.
Exactly the same here. When I watched it this morning, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And I immediately watched it again. And I think I was just so like, I need to start working, but I need to see this like for the 11th time. I simply just need to. It's so good. I'm so excited and so hyped for the actual expansion. Not so much the beta. I want the real thing. But anyway, this one trailer it's so good.
And we talked about it, I think, in past episodes, but it feels like, again, we're laying this foundation as Xal'atath as maybe one of the biggest, one of the most, massive threats that we have seen maybe in recent Warcraft history or maybe even ever, because it just feels like that, vibe of this character has a lot of plans. And, the cinematic itself, Marty, opens up with Xal'atath saying, for so long, I've watched you all. And you sort of get a little bit of a jailer vibe of like, oh, have you now? But in this case, I feel like Xal'atath actually has, and Xal'atath actually is feeling like they have a plan.
It really feels like Blizzard is trying to create a good villain this time, not just something. The way that they're setting her up, it feels like we are not just going into the War Within and get to Xal'atath in the end and kill her. I think the plans are larger, and I hope the plans are larger, that we'll see her all the way through till the end, that she's part of all three parts of this trilogy, and because. And she's amazing. She's an amazing character if you've, just followed, her rise just a little bit in game. And even if you don't have, I suspect that the War Within will probably paint a better picture of who we have to deal with.
Yeah, and I think it's something you always crave in your, your fantasy or your stories or whatever it is, that villain. Like you want that villain to be good in the sense of fleshed out, and you almost can understand their motivations. Maybe you don't agree with their motivations, but you want to get to that point where it's like, okay, I can see how you've got here, and I can see what you're doing, and it's not just you're doing it for a reason to be evil. And I think this cinematic as well, it's introducing those main characters, I think, that could be impacted by Xal'atath's actions.
100%. I mean, we start out with Illyria, which 100% has a connection to it. We already did see the small epilogue where we play together with Illyria, and Illyria has this connection to the Void. We know that Xal'atath has a connection to the Void, so it would be almost a big mistake not including Illyria in whatever storyline that's about to unfold.
Yeah, and Xal'atath's words are like your proud defiance, the loneliness you pretend not to feel, which I think really does hit home with Illyria, because Illyria took the Void, and I think it did isolate her from, who she was and who her family is. There's even, if you go and do the Void quest to unlock them as an allied race, Illyria is actually there. And they're at the Sunwell, and Illyria gets too close to the Sunwell, and the Void seeps in, and it creates a gateway, and you have to shut that. And essentially, she's being like exiled from Silvermoon City, and it sort of stems from her taking that pledge with the Void. And there's a great shot of her just like staring off into the abyss almost. But do you see her eyes like sort of dart a little bit? And I don't know, it just creates it creates more of like a meaning in the words that Xal'atath is saying at the time.
Absolutely. And I feel like every character that we see, we have both Anduin, Jaina, Magni, Thrall, all of them, get some, that duality between, who they, are portraying to be outwards and how they're feeling inwards. And I really like that duality all the way through this whole cinematic.
Yeah, and it feels very much like, and I don't know if you're getting the vibe too, that we're being set up to fail. Like it very much feels like everything we've done, like leading up to this moment, did it matter? I'm not sure, but everything right now feels like it's hanging on a thread.
I hope we're being set up to fail. I think it's one of the big story threads that I hoped we would get out of the Shadowlands, that we would actually fail in the end, that would bring some larger changes to the world, but it never happened. Apparently it was just the jailer guy, whoever that is, that we don't speak of any longer. But, so I sort of hope that we actually do get to experience in one of these expansions that we are trying to do the right thing and will fail, and that will lead us into the next one, because so far in the past we've just won all the time. We just keep on winning,
just too good.
And it would be cool to actually see like a story thread where we're doing all the correct things, but in the end it wasn't enough, because that's life sometimes as well. It's not always you can do all the correct and the right things all the time, but it doesn't mean that the outcome is always, the good and outcome that you actually want. So I think that would be interesting to see their take on that.
Yeah, and you've got this great shot of like Anduin walking through Silithus as well, and we know, that's where the original announcement trailer took place between him and Thrall, and you've got him just, trudging away from the sunset. And Xal'atath is saying you cling to hollow faith, and you just see like Anduin almost look over his shoulder at the sun, and you almost wonder, is he looking at the sun for one last time, before it sets, and then the void comes in, and it's, the darkness like seeping in. And I think you said it really well, like that duality as well, because we know Anduin has had a lot of struggles with, holding on to his faith, and, everything feels very much like we're just about holding it together. We're just about like being who we're supposed to be, but it's just going to take one thing, and that's all going to fall apart.
Also, just a fun little thing that I realized, which has nothing to do with anything very serious, but I wrote down the names of the characters in this cinematic, and they're actually in alphabetical order, because we start out with Valeria, then we go to Anduin, Jaina, Magni, Thrall, and we end on Xal'atath. And I just thought, I was like, is that on purpose, or is that just a happy coincidence?
That is quite, I mean, Marty, start your whiteboard right now, because I think you have found the first clue. Whoever's making these cinematics, they are a fan of alphabetical order. That's the information you're not going to hear on other podcasts, just saying.
I know. But no, I love that smirk in the end.
Oh, yeah,
smirk.
That smile, that damn smile. Just, you see Xal'atath appear, and she's holding on to the... What is it she's holding on to? The
dark heart, right?
The dark heart. And she makes eye contact with you, and she looks fierce. It's like, hey, Xal'atath, like, you win. Like, that look alone, like, you win. And then she just gives that smirk. And you're like, dang. Like, I'm probably going to be, fighting against you, rooting against you. But then there's part of you. And I don't know if it's like that, when you just get a villain that somehow you actually want them to succeed a little bit just for the story. But, it's like the Lich King, right? We always go back to just saying, like, the Lich King was a great villain. And why are great villains great stories as well? And if they nail this, like, this feels like it could be bigger than the whole, like, Lich King story, It feels like it's being set up for such an epic proportion that I'm scared. Like, I'm scared, Marty. I'm scared it's not going to be, because, based on the past, but I have this newfound expectation with the World Souls saga that it is going to be, like, on some sort of Marvel Thanos level of, expectation. And maybe I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. I don't know.
I just wonder, and this is very much conspiracy theories right now, but I'm just wondering, what if she's being set up as the villain, but what if she actually isn't in the end?
Is that cliche though? Is that not always the way, like, oh, the anti-hero and that they get redeemed? I don't know. I feel like, no, I feel like this is a villain.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, because, I don't know. It's just, she's such an... I think it's just because they have such a great character right here. It's almost like you don't really want them to go away either, sort of. But yeah, I mean, it still remains to be seen, I suppose, what's going to happen. But so far, just by this alone, I'm so excited. And August or September, whenever the expansion will be out, is so far away all of a sudden, even though it's only a couple of months left until it's time.
That is what we thought about the trailer. What about you out there? Are you rewatching it over and over like me and Marty? What do you think about Xal'atath? Do you think that's going to be the big bad, or do you agree with Marty? Maybe there's something a little bit more there. You can let us know in the places that you do that. You can find Talking WoW on YouTube. You can find us on social media at Talking WoW. We'd love to hear from you. I've been Tom.
I've been Marty.
And we've been Talking Xal'atath. Sorry, I mean Talking WoW.
Thanks for tuning in, champion! Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment? You can find Talking WoW on Twitter or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon!